pain is temporary, but the 10-8 podcast is forever. So, in spite of my depression, I am Zach from Filthy Philadelphia, joined by the very sunny dispositioned and sunny t-shirted John Boy down there in sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida. John Boy, love the shirt, love the energy. What's going on?
Doing good, man. I'm sorry that you're dealing with this tragic feeling, I bet, right now. Philly sports kind of down bad. At least you
Yeah,
got
I
the
mean,
Eagles. At least you got the Eagles to let you down in a couple months, right?
that's a good point. So look, we've got the undefeated Eagles. I went to a lot of Phillies games this year, and if you would have told me in July when I was at a Phillies game that I'd be watching them in the World Series, I would have said just go with the men in the white coats. They're going to bring you someplace safe and happy where you can't hurt yourself. So it's hard to be mad about the ending, but I don't know. You start to believe in destiny there, and then you have it taken away from you. And then the fucking Philadelphia Union. I thought that was going to be my ace in the hole yesterday. I thought we were finally going to have the MLS Cup here in Philadelphia. Down bad, down bad.
Damn.
I'm gonna have to crack open a Kill Cliff CBD because I am melancholic, as the dictionary would say.
I wouldn't expect anything less. Well, on the bright side, to cheer you up, we have UFC 281 Madison Square Garden this Saturday. Absolutely stacked pay-per-view card the UFC is putting on for us here.
And this doesn't cheer me up, right? It actually makes it so much worse because I had to sell my tickets to UFC 281.
Oh, Jesus. We're talking about rubbing salt in the wound.
It's just it's a bad week to be a Zach sports fan, I guess. It's just kind of the way it goes. I will be in Gulfport, Florida, finding myself a Miller's Ale House,
Whoa.
bellying up.
How far is Gulfport?
From you?
Yeah.
I don't know. How far is Tampa from you?
Like 4 hours.
Well, if you want to hop in the whip and you want to come on down to Gulfport and belly up at a Miller's Ale House, I'll be there.
Don't tempt me with a good time now. Don't tempt me with a good time.
If it happens, it happens. That's all I'm saying is I'm ready for a good time. I'm ready for life to bring me experiences. Today, am I a little depressed? You bet you. We don't close ourselves off, though. We keep an open mind. We keep an open heart, and we're ready to move forward.
Need a little bit of rain. A little bit of rain to appreciate the sun, right?
That's it. Sunny days wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for rain. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson taught us that.
The man.
Well, I think we got a banger card on our hands. I think we said that when we were here a matter of mere days ago, doing a preview for the jerk off porno theater fight card that was Saturday. And if you watched it, you'll know now that I was correct. That was like jerking off alone in a porno theater. But we're back. Are there fights this weekend?
There are. Actually, this card was so bad that we're going to pretty much suspend our 3 takeaways and just absolutely get into UFC 281. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty right off the rip.
Let's act like last night's fights just kind of didn't happen. Maybe we'll touch on them at the end, only for a result standpoint. But let's get right into the last style bender and his kryptonite, Alex Pereira, main event, Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
How you feeling about this one?
Oof. I mean, this feels like a long time coming, right? UFC signed Pereira with the intention to make him. They kind of put him on the fast track at 185 to kind of get him this title shot. Too much too soon. You could make that argument. For those of you who don't know, Pereira got the better of Adesanya in their 2 previous kickboxing matches in Glory. First one was in 2016. Adesanya lost the decision. And then they fought again, I believe 2017, a year after. And Adesanya looked good in that fight, but ended up getting slept by Pereira's famous left hook that puts a lot of men to sleep. This is an interesting one. You have an idea of who you think Vegas is leaning toward in this?
Yeah, there's so much to say about this fight, right? Let me stick to tradition. You don't fuck with tradition. I'm gonna guess that Izzy is the favorite.
Yep. He opened up at like around minus 170. The public money's starting to come in. He's up to about 185 now. I think he's the rightful favorite here over the course of 5 rounds. I think they're both obviously incredible strikers. I think Adesanya is a little bit smoother. I think he gets into rhythm a little bit more than Pereira. I think Pereira relies on the power a lot more than Adesanya, looking kind of for those big shots, while Adesanya can kind of just piece you up throughout the duration of the fight. So for that reason, I think Adesanya gets redemption here in this main event for the 185-pound strap. I like Adesanya here. I think minus 185 is not too inflated. I think you should get it now before it gets into the 200 territory. I like him to win this fight, and I actually think he might surprise some people here and maybe even knock Pereira out. Yeah, this isn't kickboxing, it's MMA. It's a different realm. I'm back in the style bender here, man.
I'm gonna join you on that. I'm gonna join you on that. And I've said on this podcast time and time again, I'm an Izzy guy. I like Israel Adesanya. Got to watch him fight in Vegas in July, and I enjoyed it. I know a lot of the fans there didn't. I enjoyed it. And this is a weird one, man. This is a weird one to call because Pereira's got 2-0 over Izzy, right? You can't hide from it, you can't ignore it, and in one of them he starched him.
Yep.
But on the other hand, there's levels to this shit. There's levels to this game. And I think to your point that Izzy might stop Alex Pereira, if you've watched any of the one cards and seen the Muay Thai bouts that they put on in 4-ounce gloves, it's like a totally different Muay Thai than what you'd see in a ring with the heavier 12-ounce or 8-ounce gloves. It's a totally different animal. And yep. I think that kind of strengthens that argument a little bit. And a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people looking at this in a vacuum, as if Izzy is fighting Alex Pereira, coming off the heels of that loss. Israel Adesanya's had 24 MMA fights since then. He's lost one of them, and the one he lost it to was a guy who is 20 plus pounds heavier than him and really did control him on the ground.
Yeah, so went up to 205 as well. Take that.
Yeah, fought Jan Blachowicz in 205, and Jan had figured out how to be a heavier guy and win that fight. Get Izzy to the ground, hold him there, work the body up. Didn't get Izzy out of there, but beat Israel Adesanya, I think, somewhat convincingly. But look, this is a different Izzy than probably fought Alex Pereira back in glory. It's a different guy. It's a guy who's been growing. This is a guy who's got 23 wins under his belt and a championship strap to defend. I'm in agreement with you. I'm riding with Izzy on this one, and I wasn't sure, but the more I talk about it, the more I think this is Izzy's one.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the second kickboxing fight back as well, Adesanya is really getting the better of Pereira in the exchanges. He literally just gets caught with a left hand. He's winning that fight pretty handily up until that left hand. I think you're going to see a lot of that in this fight too. I think it's going to just be, can Pereira land that shot? I think it's a knockout or bust for Pereira. I think the longer this goes, the better for Adesanya. I think he has more tools to win. Shit, he might even shoot a takedown. I mean, I wouldn't call that out of the realm of possibility. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if he's going to have to, but I'd imagine that would definitely be something that he is brought up in camp and might exploit, because Pereira is not good off of his back. And we saw Pereira go 3 rounds with Bruno Silva, and it was a very closely contested bout. Bruno Silva is no slouch, but we kind of see what happens to Pereira if he can't knock his opponent out. He's got to weather a little bit of a storm, and it gets a little bit dicey. Yeah, I like Adesanya, like you said. The more we're going over this, it's just all roads point to Izzy and him retaining that belt.
Yeah, look, it's a different animal, right? It's a cage, not a ring. Takedowns can happen. And again, I'm with you. And that was going to be one of my questions. Does Izzy throw any wrestling in there? Does he throw any jiu-jitsu in there? Pereira has one loss, and it was in a low end promotion, but that loss was via submission. Somebody caught him with a rear naked choke.
He does train with Glover Teixeira, Pereira. So
he does.
I mean, you're talking like top highest quality grappling and the UFC has to offer in Glover Teixeira. So, I mean, he's definitely seen it. I honestly don't think it goes there. I think both these guys play around on the feet.
I agree.
But yeah, The decision remains the same.
Yeah, I agree. I'm rocking with Izzy on this one. I feel good. I'm rooting for Izzy on this one as well. So that's not just a mathematic decision. That's a little bit of, there's a little bit of heart in that one. I like Adesanya. You want to talk about the Cookie Monster? You want to talk about Carlos Esparza taking on Weili Zhang?
Yep, that's I think this is going to be one-way traffic.
Go ahead. Let me hear it.
You want to guess what the line is first?
I'm gonna guess that Weili is a pretty substantial favorite.
Minus 370. She was minus 350 to open up the week. She's being bet down. I think that's actually low. I think she's like minus 700. I think she absolutely demolishes Carla Esparza. I think it's actually going to be pretty short order. It's going to be quick work, and you're not even going to have to sweat this one out. I think it's just too much power, too much strength, too much striking. Esparza's not going to be able to wrestle like she can with Rose. It's just a absolute nightmare matchup for Esparza. I'm actually surprised that this line is that low.
So, look, I said this pre-show. And look, if you ask me to explain it, I don't know if I can. I got an inkling that I think it's Esparza. Um, I think she's coming off of what was probably one of the worst women's MMA fights we've ever seen between her and Rose, right? I mean, they were probably one step from people throwing their popcorn in the ring at them. I think Carla is going to come out there with a little something to prove. Um, I think she's gonna get the better of Wiley. I know you think it's one-way traffic, and I think the MMA math might work in your favor. I got a Carla lean on this one.
Where? Like, where does
I
she
think
win this fight?
I mean, look, it's not like Carla's got feather dusters for hands. I mean, she's got 4 KOs on her record. It's not like
I
she's got
mean,
feather dusters for hands.
she,
She can wrestle. She's got submission victories. I think she might have it. I really do. I got a feeling. And look, like I said, I think the one big problem is not going to be anything Carla does. It's going to be what Wiley does because Carla's been stopped before. So I think if Wiley can get her wobbled on the feet, I think it might be short work. But I don't know. I got a Carla lean. I'm rolling with it.
yeah, no, I'm disagreeing with that. I think Zhang is going to be way, way, way too much. I don't see anywhere where Esparza wins this fight. If this goes to the decision, which it's not, Wiley's going to make short order of this. I think this is going to be ugly, very, very, very ugly.
It's gonna be ugly.
Like I think it's like Esparza has no business even belonging in the ring with her.
Ooh,
I think
interesting.
like it's a horrible, horrible, horrible matchup. It's just I'm telling you right now, mark my words, it's gonna look like these two shouldn't even be in the same promotion.
Are we in the territory of a 10-8 bet here?
Absolutely.
Are we throwing a 20 spot on a 10-8 bet here just to liven it up a little bit? Just
Yeah,
to go
and just to juice it up because the odds are so not in your favor, I say that Wiley gets her out of there. It's a finish. KO.
You're saying Wiley by KO.
Wiley by KO.
I'll take that action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it. Gentlemen's
That's a 10-8 bet. That's a gentleman's wager right there. And we'll see. We'll see on that one.
Oh, I
And
can't
look,
wait to
like I said,
recap this next week.
oh, it's gonna be a great recap regardless, because one of us is gonna be talking shit, and I think we both are gentlemen of that trade. And look from an analytical, because we are doing a podcast standpoint, from an analytical standpoint, I totally get that the math is in Wiley's favor. I totally understand that. I don't know. I got an inkling. I got an Angels in the outfield vibe here that Carla might get it done. So that's where I am.
And it's weird that you bring that up because I'm actually going to carry that over into the absolute dog fight that we're getting for the number 3 fight on this main pay-per-view slate. Holy violence.
You want to talk about the diamond? You want to talk about Iron Michael? I mean, this is gentlemen, load your pistols. We got action. This is Dustin Poirier taking on Iron Michael Chandler. This is a fun one. This
Yeah.
is what you get up for. This would get you out of bed if you're an MMA fan.
Yeah, this is the type of fight if you're trying to like get somebody into the UFC to watch it, get into it, and like, hey, you should watch UFC. This is the fight you should show them. This is the fight when it goes on at the bar. Should be like, hey, tune into this one because it could end at any moment. I think when Chandler signed with Bellator, like this was inevitable. I think a lot of people kind of wanted to see this matchup at 155, just historically with the wars that Chandler and Alvarez had, the wars that Poirier and Alvarez had. It was just kind of something that's been, in the making. You have an idea who the favorite is in this one?
Well, I'm gonna do a little on-air architecture here, John Boy. I think that's one of those. I think you stumbled onto something beautiful here. I think maybe this needs to be the first. This needs to be the first 10-8 tag. The new fan tag. If you're trying to make a new fan out of MMA, you want to get your buddy into it. Put on this fight for him. This is
Yeah,
going to be a firecracker of a fight. I think Poirier is the favorite.
you would be correct.
Yeah,
Minus 180, Michael Chandler plus 150. This is over the course of 3 rounds.
which is
Um,
a
yeah,
shame.
it is because this would be a main event on any fight night ever. So this could very well easily be a 5-round fight, and that could very well change the outcome. Because if this is a 5-round fight, I'm probably smashing the Poirier button, but I'm getting some Angels in the outfield vibes. I'm going to carry over from what you said. And
Interesting.
I have a weird feeling that Michael Chandler might get this done. He's going to have to knock him out probably, or he's going to have to hurt him in some way. But I just have some weird feeling that the MMA gods are going to have Michael Chandler come out on top of this one and fight Islam Makhachev. I just nobody wants to see Makhachev Poirier, right? We already saw how that went with Habib. We know that Poirier gets, absolutely just mauled in the grappling department. Chandler's a better matchup for Makhachev. Horrible matchup for Poirier, I think. It really isn't a good matchup for Chandler, but I don't know. Something inside me is telling me it might be Michael Chandler's time. With Poirier, we've been there, done that, seen it. And it might be time for a new guy to get a legitimate shot. I mean, Chandler did have a shot, but I think he's going to get one here. I'm not confident though. What are you thinking?
So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm riding with the diamond. I'm riding with Poirier. I think Poirier is a nightmare matchup for Chandler. And I think
Agree.
Dustin the Diamond gets it done. But, and I'll slap a little caveat on there. I like where your head is at, and we talked about that I think 2 weeks ago on the pod, that an American wrestler might just, Lord hear our prayer, might be the answer for these Sambo killers that are coming into the UFC right now. I think an American wrestler could be the answer. Is that American wrestler Michael Chandler? Is it Mizzou that gets it done? I don't know.
And
But
I also not to cut you off, but I also did see that the UFC doesn't want the Volkanovski fight for Makhachev, and that they want him to fight the winner of this fight. So that very well could be a possibility if he gets it done.
do you know why the UFC doesn't want that Volk fight? Because I'll tell you.
It destroys the Volk hype.
You're thinking too much up here. You're going high level on me. I'm going to tell you right now why the UFC doesn't want that Volk fight.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're all fans of the 10-8 podcast. Because they all tuned in and heard Zach from Philly and John Boy break it down for them, and they're sitting in there in the office. They're like, "Oh fuck, they're
Shit.
right. That is a dumb fucking fight to make, and we shouldn't do that. That's a waste of people's time. Let's do this instead. Way cooler.
Yeah.
It's that easy."
To be honest with you, I wouldn't really get up for a Poirier Makhachev fight. I think that would be one-way traffic, very similar to the Habib fight. Yeah, I just want to see that. I want to see that. I want to see Russia versus America. I don't know. Poirier has been so good to me over the course of the UFC in terms of a guy who just fights for
Always.
this guy will leave everything in the ring. Just the ultimate guy you want to bet on. But I don't know, man. Something's giving me a weird feeling about this one.
And look, here's the thing, right? I mean, I feel like Iron Michael Chandler here has a little bit of a Babe Ruth thing going. He hits big or he misses big. I
Yeah.
feel like he's going to go in there and he's going to starch you, or I feel like Poirier is going to dismantle him for 3 rounds. And I think the 3 rounds actually helps Chandler more than it does Poirier.
Oh
I
yeah,
think five
no,
would have been better for Diamond.
yeah, no,
But
tremendously.
I'm riding with Poirier. I'll stand by that one. But if I'm wrong, in this house, we live by a couple of simple tenets. Rocky is a Thanksgiving movie. I'm always rooting for America over Russia, and American wrestling reigns supreme. That's how we live in this house. So if that's the way it goes down, I'm gonna take a moment of silence. I'm gonna pour one out for the Diamond, and I'm gonna move on.
Yeah,
But I'm a Diamond guy, and I have been. And this is, I'm gonna say it again for anybody who hasn't. Go on and watch the documentary Fightville about a young Dustin Poirier coming up in the amateur circuit. It is incredible. It will make you a Dustin Poirier fan when you see all that he had to overcome to be, the big UFC star that he is now from juvenile delinquency down there in Louisiana. It's an awesome story.
and the one thing is too now, like when I try and bet a fight, I try and dissect kind of how the guy can get the job done, right? Like
Sure.
what ways can they win the fight? And I just like there aren't a lot of things on the drawing board where I'm like, oh, Michael Chandler can get this done. It's one of those ones where I'm not going to have a lot invested in it just because of the sheer chaos that these two guys inflict when they're in there. So I'm not going to put my financials behind it. I'd probably lay off it, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Um, because I really don't see how Chandler gets it done other than a knockout, but I've seen crazier things.
You absolutely crazier things, and these two have bad blood. They've traded barbs back and forth. You just don't know. You just don't
Yeah.
know what's going to happen.
And
It's going to be fun.
Poirier's been like talking about hanging it up too. Remember
Yeah,
after the Oliveira fight, he was like, "I just don't love this shit anymore." Anytime a
yeah.
guy, anytime a guy kind of sparks that conversation, it's a little bit nerve wracking, especially in the UFC. So I know Chandler has a chip on his shoulder. Um, I wonder if Poirier is collecting his McGregor checks and he's kind of tapped out and he's like, I got the title shot a couple times already. I won my big fights. I'm already a Hall of Famer. I don't know. I'd like to see where his motivation's at. I'll maybe look into it a little bit more during the press conferences later to come. But we got other fights on this card.
We got other fights on this card, yes, and there are just top to bottom. I mean, just cracker jacks, right? But we should at least briefly touch on Frankie Edgar taking on Chris Gutierrez, if for no other reason than out of respect for the legend that is Frankie the Answer Edgar. I heard a rumor that this was going to be his last fight. He's 41 years old, so that would make sense. He doesn't have an easy one for his last fight in Chris Gutierrez either.
Yeah,
Right?
no, not at all.
No, no, tough.
Uh, I mean, who do you think's the favorite here?
I'm thinking Gutierrez is probably the favorite here.
He is, and it's interesting because it's just a testament to how tough the UFC is. I mean, he's going out on possibly his last fight ever, and he's a 2-1 underdog, right? Gutierrez minus 215, Edgar's in like the plus 180 area. He does have a route to win this fight, though. El Guapo Gutierrez has been exposed in the grappling department, and that is Frankie, the pride of New Jersey. That's the answers. That's Frankie Edgar. The answer is just way to get shit done, right? The guy grapples, he strings together takedowns. He's a grinder, man. He's literally just an absolute grinder, and I could see him get this done. Gutierrez doesn't really have like the true knockout power. He's more of like an accumulation of strikes, leg kicks that add up. Um, if Edgar can just, man, though, he's 41. He's 40 fucking one.
41 years old. He's fought
God,
every, I mean, for context, I mean, Frankie Edgar made his UFC debut my junior year of high school. So this
yeah.
man's fought everybody. He's fought, two generations worth of legends. Has a win over Charles Oliveira back in 2013. Talking about
That's
bars.
ridiculous.
Yeah, 2013 win over Charles Oliveira, right? I mean, who do you want to talk about, right? He's fought them all. He's fought everybody. Swanson, Holloway, Munoz, Sanhagen, Marlon Vera. I mean, this guy's got generations worth of legends. Benson Henderson, BJ Penn, 2 wins over BJ Penn, the prodigy. Yeah, Frankie is, Ricardo Almeida, jiu-jitsu guy, wrestler, tough as nails. Yeah,
And
41 years old, but
and here's the one MMA math fight too, because you remember when Yair Rodriguez was like the guy, and everybody thought he was the next big thing, and he fought Frankie Edgar, and Frankie ended up just putting him on his ass and
I do.
beating the living shit out of him, for three, or maybe it was a 5 rounder. But Gutierrez, I don't want to say is a similar style to Yair, but they both like to keep it on the feet, and it's usually like an accumulation of strikes, kicks, all that type of stuff. So the stylistic matchup is there for Frankie at plus 170, plus 180 territory. I just don't feel confident betting on a 41-year-old man who's been knocked out in a heap load of fights before this. I'm gonna lay off it. I hope Frankie gets out of there okay. True legend of the game, and
beyond legend of the game. Yeah, I'm pulling for Frankie. Um, but I think the odds makers might have it right. But that's if you've been an MMA fan long enough, you know that right around the time the odds makers have it correct is right around the time some absolute nut shit will happen, and Frankie will throw a double leg and drop this guy on his head or something.
yeah, I mean, the tools are there. I've seen worse bets at plus 180. He's going to be in New York, right? In Madison Square Garden, in his backyard. I'm going to lay off of it, but if gun to my head, I'll probably take Frankie.
The crowd's going to be loud for Frankie at MSJ.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, Ricardo Almeida, I think is an offshoot, if I'm not mistaken, of Renzo Gracie, New York, which is like the Brazilian jiu-jitsu mecca of that sort of offshoot of jiu-jitsu. Frankie was a New York guy, kind of on the scene back when MMA couldn't even get licensed in New York. He was around. So yeah, it's another little piece for our newer fans. If you got some time this week, just go back and watch some old Frankie Edgar fights, because this is truly, pioneer days of MMA stuff worth watching. You want to talk about Dan Hooker, Claudio Puelles? We can get into that a little bit.
I mean, I guess if we have to, right?
We do it for the fans.
On paper, right? It's like Dan Hooker should beat this guy. On paper, right? But the thing with Dan Hooker, and it's been extremely noticeable, I said it in his last fight that he should just retire in the Arnold Allen fight. He just looked like a former shell of himself. And it's just, you don't know what kind of Dan Hooker is going to show up, because he looks good on the scales. Like, his physique's still there. Like, the training is still there, but it just looks like the damage may have taken its toll, and it's starting to add up, because he just doesn't look like himself. He looks like he's a little bit in quicksand. Vegas is giving him a little bit of respect. Minus 170. I'll spoil it.
Yeah.
Who do you like in this one?
I'm of a similar mind than you. I think Dan Hooker should win this fight. But then I look at his last 5 fights, and I look at he's lost 4 of them. One to Poirier, one to Michael Chandler, one to Islam Makhachev, one to Arnold Allen. All legit guys.
Yeah, that's fucking murderer's row right there.
It's murderer's row, no doubt, but it's 4 of them, right? Like we've said on this pod, that's how the legit guy trajectory goes, right?
Yeah.
You lose to one legit guy, you lose to another, you get a win, you lose to another 2 tough fights, but then eventually your losses to legit guys start to be losses to journeymen, losses to fledgling MMA fighters, because you just can't take that damage forever. It's just not the way it goes. So I don't know. Yeah, Dan Hooker should win. I hope he wins. I like the Hangman. I don't know.
Yeah, I just can't. I said that Hooker was dead to me after the Arnold Allen fight. So for that reason, I can't back him. Puelles is good on the ground, man. He's got like these slick knee bars, this slick submission game. He's weird, man. He's young. He's up and coming. Plus 140 is not a bad number to just hang against like a riddled Hooker. I don't think I'm going to get there. Hooker has screwed me more than any fighter. When I bet on him, he gets murked. And then when I bet against him, he looks like a world champion. So I'm going to lay off of that fight and make my way down the card and go from there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, we got Brad Riddell taking on Renato Carino. How you feeling about that one?
Sheesh, this card is ridiculous, man. Brad Riddell, Renato Moicano. That's a nasty fight, man. That's a really, really good fight. Who do you think the favorite is in there?
I'm gonna guess Moicano.
You'd be right, -130, very slight. Riddell, even money. Um, damn, this is a good fight. This is
Yeah,
a
this is
really
a
good
fun one.
fight.
This
I
is a
I
fun one.
I think Moicano is the better fighter, right? I think the more raw like talent and skill is with Moicano, but Rydell is just so fucking tough. He's one of those guys that's just as gritty as can be. He's an absolute bulldog. He's in that the same camp as Adesanya and those guys from New Zealand. They're all absolute dogs.
Yeah, CKO. That's a tough fight camp in
Yeah,
there.
those guys come to fight. Those guys go out on their shields. So, and we've seen Moicano kind of get lit up before. It wouldn't surprise me a ton if Rydell caught him, but I do think Moicano has the higher ceiling. I think he's like the better fighter per se, but that's a tough fight, man. I think Vegas has that line correctly, and that's going to be a good one. I could see that going to like maybe like a decision being like a really greasy spot. I don't really have a lean on that.
Yeah, well, for a while there, Brad Rydell was putting together a string of victories that was kind of had people thinking he might really do something here. His UFC debut was, I think, against Jamie Malarkey. And I think he put, was it four wins in a row together in the UFC with a win over Drew Dober, and now he's dropped one to Jalen Turner via submission, one to Rafael Fiziev over. He got KO'd in the third. But again, right, Rydell he got that dog in him. He got that dog in him. He's a tough fucking dude. He's
Yeah,
hard to get out of there.
it's tough to bet against guys that just don't quit.
Yeah.
And he's example A.
Yeah, I will not be surprised if Brad Rydell wins that fight. I will not be surprised.
It's a good one. I mean, I guess I would ever so slightly lean to Moicano, but not enough to back him.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, how do you feel about Dom Reyes coming back against Ryan Spann? How do you feel about this one?
I fucking love Dom Reyes, dude. I
I
I
big
just
Dom Reyes guy.
I just huge Dominic Reyes fan. I thought he beat John Jones. I thought he
Yep.
beat him 3-2. I thought he won rounds 1, 2, and 3 as clear as day.
Yeah.
I thought he should have been the 205-pound champion. Then he gets slept by Jan Blachowicz, and then he gets slept by Yuri. Right, that was his last fight, which was like knockout of the year, spinning elbow from hell. But I mean, he showed so much heart in that fight. He was trading. They were going back and forth for a while. Ryan Superman Spann. I think this is a winnable fight for Reyes, man. I like Reyes here. It's one of those things where it's like he's been brutally knocked out in his last two fights, and it's like, are we going to see kind of him come off a cliff, right? Is he going to really decline, and are we going to see that now? But the -230 price tag for Reyes, I think I'm gonna get on board with that. I think he can knock Ryan Spann out. I think he's got more tools to get the job done. And yeah, I'm going with Dominic Reyes here.
Yeah, I think, look, get in your time machine, and it's 3 years ago. And if you would have heard that Ryan Spann was fighting Dom Reyes, you would have thought that this was, borderline criminally negligent homicide, right? I mean, Dominic Reyes was, on a tear, just murking people. Was undefeated in the UFC all the way up to the John Jones fight, with wins over Volkan Ozdemir, Ovince St. Preux, who, big hands, Jared Cannonier, Chris Weidman. So, and I do still maintain, I think he beat John Jones. I think he's the only one to say he has a win over John Jones. I think he took it 3-2, and it was a good fight, but I think, to me, Reyes had won it clearly. I thought it was a clear victory, Reyes.
Yeah, I did too.
So this is going to be the answer, right? Reyes hasn't fought now in over a year. It was May of 21 that he got knocked out by Yuri Prochazka. This is going to be the answer. Is he chinny now? Has the chin gotten a crack in it? Or did the year off, is he able to recenter himself, come in and take care of business? If we're talking about regular getting off the bus, Dom Reyes at Dom Reyes speed, he should make easy work of Ryan Spann, in my opinion. But If we got a Chinny Dom Reyes on our hands now, we're gonna know. So I
Yeah.
think Dom should win this fight, and I hope he does.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of similar to like the Poirier stance I had before. Like this might be a guy you want to watch in the pre-fight analysis, right? Watch the weigh-ins, watch the pre-fight interviews, like see what he has to say, see what he looks like, kind of his just well-being, kind of where he's at, his mentality at this point in time, and just I think he'll be ready, man. I mean, he's got this on any given day, he could beat anybody. So it's just what version are we going to see of him? And I'm going to have to agree with you. Dominic Reyes by second round TKO, Ryan Spann.
Lock it in. Lock it in. I like it. I like it. Well, you have some strong feelings about our next fight. You want to get into it? Aaron Blanchard taking on Meatball Molly McCann.
Blanchfield, but yes, Aaron Blanchfield, dog,
Potato.
dog. I mean, I think I've said it on previous pods. I think that she is going to be the future of women's MMA. She's extremely young. I think she's like 22, 23 years old. If you want to check me on that, but she's
23.
23. Okay. She's a youngin. She is a killer. She has all of the tools to really kind of grow into and just dominate, right? She's extremely well-rounded. She can wrestle, she can strike. She just strings things together nicely that you don't really see at that level. In women's MMA, really. She's impressive, man. Every time I watch her fight, I'm like, holy shit, this girl is good. She's fighting Molly Meatball, which is no easy outing. They call her the Meatball for a reason. She proves me wrong too, man. She's got some decent cardio. She's strong as shit, and she can punch, and she's tough as can be. So you have an idea of where this is lined?
This is so hard to call because Molly is also enjoying a little bit of a notoriety moment right now. Her and Patty the Batty are MMA's favorite odd couple. So I don't think that she should be, but I'm going to guess that Molly McCann is the favorite.
Aaron Blanchfield, biggest favorite on the card.
You're shitting me.
Minus 400.
I really would have thought that Vegas money would have thrown that line off.
So Vegas is kind of seeing this how I see it. I just think Blanchfield's the real deal. I think she's going to get tested here, though. I don't think minus 400's I wouldn't hang that price tag. I think McCann's going to give her some issues. I think that this is going to be a way, way, way more closely contested bout. There's going to be a lot of output. Like this is a DraftKings fight, in my opinion. So there's just going to be a lot of back and forths, a lot of scrambles, just a lot of fighting. That's how Meatball, she just kind of lulls you into that type of fight. I just think Blanchfield has the tools, man. I think she has more tools. I think she's slicker, more technical. I'm not going to get off this bus until it's arrived in Gold City. So I'm going Blanchfield here.
Do you think that money's going to come in on Molly later on as we get towards Saturday?
I mean, I think the Barstool fighter will get the majority of the betting tickets, but I think the sharps and some of the there'll be less tickets with higher money on Blanchfield, but I do think the general public, she's a stoolie. She's in that kind of limelight, a little bit more name recognition. She's fought in Madison Square Garden before, I believe. Could be wrong,
So.
but it's a tough fight, man. She's a tough fight for anybody. If I keep doubting that girl and she keeps proving me wrong. So I'm going to side with Blanchfield, but I think this is going to be a way closer bout than a lot of people think it is. Blanchfield's got to wrestle. She's got to get the wrestling going.
Got to.
It's absolutely crucial. I think she can, but McCann is a tough cookie, man. Tough girl. So we'll see if Blanchfield kind of has the strength over the course of 3 rounds. It's going to be a big test for her.
I agree. I think that Blanchfield should win this fight on paper. I think she's a better fighter. right? If we were to look at it purely from like a martial arts ability, I think Blanchfield's a better fighter. But Molly will just stand in there with you, just waiting for her moment. So I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, Blanchfield's got to wrestle her. Can't just stand in the pocket and trade with her, because then there's a spinning elbow coming your way with bad intentions on it. So I agree.
Yeah, it's like I'm starting to kind of take the betting route of not betting on a fighter, but more so betting against their opponent. And she's one of those people you just don't want to bet against, right? Similar to like a Poirier, where they're just not going to quit. You're going to have to choke them out, and you're going to have to not put them unconscious. Otherwise, they're not going anywhere. So for that reason, I'll probably play Blanchfield on like a DraftKings thing, just merely because the upside. But I'm not.
Right.
I don't know if I'll touch the 400. I think that's a high number.
Yeah, that is a little high, but we'll see. We'll see. Should we get to the part of the show where you break my heart?
Yeah,
Should
man.
we do
This might just be the fade Philly pod right now.
Oh my God, I won't hear of it. Andre
Um,
Petrosky is taken on Wellington Turman.
yeah.
Turman,
Mhm.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Who do you think's the favorite?
I think Andre's the favorite.
He is. He's minus 215. Wellington Turman plus 170. This is my favorite underdog bet on the card. I love Turman here. Love Turman. I I think Petrosky has one way to win this fight, and it's in the grappling realm. He needs to get you down on the ground. He needs to sub you, and he needs to do it quickly. Otherwise, he tends to fade later on in fights. Wellington Turman's a guy who grapples with Glover Teixeira. His last outing, he fought a guy in what's his name? The Polish wrestler. Yeah, Misha Serkinov, absolutely phenomenal grappler. And Wellington just overcame the storm, and then he gassed out. And I think it's going to be a very, very similar situation. So I will be putting my chips on Wellington Turman plus 170, and I feel good about it. It might be my favorite play of the card. It's a lot of value right there, plus 170 for a guy in Petrosky who's really, his resume just doesn't impress me really at all.
Well, I mean, I don't think you want to take away the Nick Maximov win from him. I think that was incredibly impressive.
I mean, Nick Maximov just got cut by the UFC, right? Just
He
got
got cut now, but when he fought Andre Petrosky, he was the favorite, and Nick Maximov was going to be the next big thing coming out of what, Team Alpha Male, right?
Yeah, no. He had a flyer out for sure. He had a flyer with not really anything proven. And Petrosky got it done in the first round though, right? He subbed him in the first round. I just think if he can't dominate you in the grappling and the wrestling department, it's you're gonna hate to hear this. And it might be a Philly thing. Oh God, I'm really digging myself a fucking hole here. It's just there isn't much outside the grappling. If he can't get this fight to the ground, similar to Sean Brady, I don't think he's going to win it on the feet. He could. I mean, Turman's been knocked out before. I don't know. I just think it's going to be a war of attrition, and I'm going to bet on the guy with a better resume at an underdog number, and it's as simple as that.
So is it what kind of gets you on Team Turman here? Is it the loss to Bruno Silva, or is it the split decision win over Smiling Sam Alvey?
Okay,
is it one?
Bruno Silva took Alex Pereira to the closest 3-round fight he's ever had.
He did.
Bruno Silva is no joke.
No joke.
No joke.
Smiling
Sam. I don't think Smiling Sam Alvey has been in a fight that wasn't a split decision.
Yeah, but I don't know. You split decision with Sam Alvey in 2021. I got to look at you like you're a little bit suspect.
Yeah, I think
a little bit suspect.
Misha Serkinov reminds me of Petrosky. They're very similar fighters. They're very grappling heavy oriented guys that as soon as you stuff the first couple of takedowns or you get back to your feet, you see kind of like a grimace on their face, like, oh fuck, that didn't work. Now what? And Petrosky could catch him, I guess. Petrosky does throw hard. It's that one of those things. If he doesn't hit you or if he doesn't get you out of there early, I'm not going to bet on that gas tank. I just can't get behind it. I know this hurts, but I'm going Wellington Turman here.
Listen, you got to go with what you feel. I am obviously, without question, riding with Andre Petrosky, Philly till I die. I mean, I think Petrosky can get him out of there with the grappling. I believe that. I believe he can do that. I think that Team Daniel Gracie's grappling is just, I think, some of the best that we're seeing in the UFC. Obviously, before he got stopped by Bilal Muhammad, Sean Brady had incredible grappling. That was just, the grappling just doesn't quit out of that team. That team grapples, grapples, grapples. I think Petrosky can get it done. And because of the Philly lean, I'm riding with Petrosky, obviously, to the surprise of nobody listening.
Okay.
And that's where we are.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was coming.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all. That's all it is.
I mean, we just covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fights that are great fights, and there's still just absolute bangers on this card. It's actually crazy the depth on this card.
Yeah, there's still another 5 fights to go.
It's nuts. I mean, Carolina Kolakevich.
Carolina Kovalevich taking on.
She was the girl. She was the shit. You know, she was fighting for the belt. She's on the fucking pre-pre's.
She's an early prelim fight.
Early prelim fight. You got Matt Frivola, Otman Azatar. It's a pick on. That's a good fight. Julio Arce, Montel Jackson. I mean, shit.
Matt, the steamroller Frivola.
Yep.
Love that.
Yep.
Love that.
You think he can get the job done against Azatar?
So
it's an interesting one. That's a fun fight.
It's a fun fight. It's a good one, right? You know, I mean, Frivola's a tough guy. I think he's a talented fighter. You know, his last 2 losses, so he's got a win over Gennaro Valdez. It's like, okay, whatever. You know, his 2 losses were to Terrence McKinney and Armin Sarukian. You really can't sneeze at those losses. He's got a win over Luis Pena and Jalen Turner. Not nobodies.
That's an absolute monster win, the Jalen Turner one.
Right. Yeah, he's got a UD and a split over Luis Pena, I believe, aka Violent Bob Ross.
Yep.
Who is now fighting, I think, in Bellator. I don't know if he beat the criminal charges against him or if Bellator will just sign you with pending criminal charges.
Sounds like something Bellator would definitely do.
It's Scotty Cokes might get on the phone with your probation officer. He might get on the phone with your PO.
It's in the cards for sure.
Yeah, it could happen. It wouldn't surprise me. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope we can. You know, I like Matt Frivola. I believe he is or was a Serra-Longo, Long Island guy. You know, so I'm pulling for him. You know, but the Bulldozer, Azatar, I mean, he's 13-0. You know, he's only got 2 fights in the UFC. You know, one over Timu Packlin and one over Kama Worthy.
Yeah, no, not great wins. He got suspended. Remember the Abu Dhabi bag breaking COVID protocol? He like snuck a bag, like he went through to like a fighter's hotel room balcony and like slipped him a bag and broke COVID protocol, and the UFC kicked him out.
Yeah, he like snuck in GoPuff for him or something, like snuck him in fucking cookie dough bites.
Yeah. So he broke COVID protocol, and the UFC was like, that's a no, and they cut him. I guess they're bringing him back for this one. This is interesting. I kind of like Frivola here a little bit.
I kind of do too.
Call me crazy.
I kind of do too. I mean, I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the Bulldozer is going to try to get him out of there with the hands. You know, I think Frivola, I don't know, he might have a little bit more for him in the grappling department. I mean, it's hard to say. It's tough. You know, you got one guy who hasn't been in the UFC long. You got one guy who's been kind of middling in the UFC, but has wins over some legit guys. You know, Frivola's a Dana White Tuesday night contender guy from back in 2017. And he's had kind of a feast or famine in the UFC ever since. But I mean, if he wants to put something together, now's the time to start.
He's super chinny, super chinny, high output, tons of cardio, loves to grapple. Very, very chinny. Azatar can strike. He can strike too. He puts together combos really nicely. It's just kind of one of those things, right? Where it's like he's got to probably knock him out or clip him or hurt him. So for those reasons, instead of just betting on the bomb, you know, the one shot, I'm going to go with Frivola here.
Yeah, I like that analysis. I'll co-sign that one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we did a pretty good job covering it. I'm not gonna bet the Carolina fight. You just don't know what version. If I had to bet it, I'd go Juarez just because Carolina just does not look herself. Um,
Carolina hasn't looked herself in 4 years now.
yeah, it's more so not betting on Juarez. It's more so betting against KK. Unfortunately,
She
uh,
has five
God bless her
losses.
soul. Yeah,
She has five losses, bookended on either side by wins over Felice Herrig.
yeah, and Felice Herrig had like a one-off fight, and then she retired.
Yeah.
She was doing OnlyFans foot pages. How I know that I won't divulge my information, but
Look, there's two things we're not going to do here. Number one, we're not going to judge anybody if they're on Felice Herrig's OnlyFans. That's your business. This is still America. Last I checked.
not a foot guy, not a foot guy.
No, look, it's okay. Look, this is these fans that we have cultivated, that we
Mm-hmm.
have curated, are
Yeah,
some of the most loving, accepting people I think on this side of the MMA fandom. So, however you know about her foot picks
not
is
saying
not our
much.
business, and we're not going to ask. We're not going to ask, but we're also not going to judge Felice Herrig for securing the bag.
Oh,
If
absolutely not. No, no. Props to her. I mean, that's no, and in no way, shape, or form is that a slight to Felice Herrig. It's just the quality of competition is just. This is the
yeah,
UFC. This is the
yeah,
UFC
it's
here.
UFC. I mean, I'll tell you what, if you ask me, like Zach, you can make money getting punched in the face, or you can make money by taking iPhone pics of your feet. I'm probably going with feet pics.
Yeah, and
I'm probably with something. Yeah.
I wouldn't blame you for a second, but one thing I will say is every time a UFC fighter starts an OnlyFans page, their career just fucking goes off a cliff.
Yeah.
Paige Van Zant, Kay Hansen, all these girls that got into the game. I think it was Julia Pena or something. Yeah, yeah, Angela Hill's friend. They get into it and their game just comes off a cliff. So can't get there. Can't get there on KK. Julio Arce, Montel Jackson. That's a fun one. That's a low key, a little bit of a banger.
Which, I mean, what card on here doesn't have banger potential?
Yeah.
Fight on here does not have banger potential. This card is insane.
Yeah. UFC 281 is definitely a must see.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. This is going to be an absolutely gas card. I just
Yeah,
can't
it's
say.
worth it's definitely worth dishing out the $80 or $70 now that ESPN's upcharging for the pay-per-view. I think it's a good pay-per-view.
It's a great pay-per-view, and ESPN and the UFC upcharging for that product is another conversation about fucking highway robbery, but whatever.
Yep.
That's what it is, I guess. We're still paying it. We're still doing a podcast about it. So
Yep. Yeah, no, I'm not complaining.
that's that. Did you catch the fights on Saturday?
I didn't. I didn't, believe it or not. I sat that one out. I checked my phone, went on Twitter to get my updates for the majority of those fights. And I think that was for good reason, right?
Yeah, you
Did I
you
miss
really
anything?
no. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. You really did not miss much at all. A little bit of disappointment for our boy Daniel Rodriguez, who looked like in the third. So I think he drops the first to Magny. I think he wins the second against Magny. Starts to find a home for his hands. Looks good. In the third, hurts Magny, gets Magny to the ground, hops immediately in his closed guard, and then in a matter of minutes, Magny, fucking chokes him unconscious. And
Yeah,
it's just
that was kind of one thing too that we talked about in the pod. It was like, well, we know Neil Magny's going to grapple, and it's like we really
and
haven't seen Daniel Rodriguez get tested. So like that's definitely a possibility, a realm of possibility. And sure enough, Neil Magny does what Neil Magny does best, and he grapple fucks people.
yeah, and as it turns out, D Rod's grappling leaves something to be desired.
Yeah, definitely make a note of that going forward. D Rod cannot grapple worth a fuck.
And not grapple.
Yep.
Yeah, Amanda Lemos got it done over Mariana Rodriguez. She stopped her. But
Not
her
like
hands,
super surprising, but yeah.
yeah, look, I think Mariana Rodriguez being the kickboxer, you kind of would have thought in a later round that it would have been her getting a stoppage, but
Agreed.
Lemos's hands stayed sharp all the way throughout. Um, Not really much else. Miranda Maverick won a UD. I'm heartbroken. What a dumb fucking nickname that is. Just
Are you trying to
Miranda,
tell me Shayna Young lost?
after cutting off her hair, Shayna Young lost. Yeah, she cut off her hair to make weight, and then dropped the dub. So thanks for the memory, Shayna,
Yep.
I guess. Uh, that's the end of that chapter, probably. But yeah, Miranda Maverick, Miranda Fear the Maverick, because that's a common expression that makes sense as a nickname. Everybody's seen Top Gun. They know the catchphrase is Fear the Maverick and not something else. Not a million other things you could have done with that fucking last name. Let's go with Fear the Maverick. It makes sense. Get out of here. The dumb nickname. Um, and yeah, my own disappointment, Mark O. Madsen, Danish wrestler, Olympian, who I'm a big fan of, did drop to Grant Dawson, rear naked choke in the third. Um, and I thought Marco Madsen might have found the formula to his sort of middle of the road success. I didn't really think he was ever going to do anything, special necessarily in the UFC, but he had put together some good wins. He beat Vince Pichel, Clay Guida, Austin Hubbard, guys who were grapplers. He had gone in there, and grappled with the best of them. I thought he might have had something put together there, but he takes his first loss in the UFC to Grant Dawson via submission. It is what it is. He's Marco Madsen's also 38 years old, so I don't know how far he was going to go in the UFC, but a little bit of pride from a fellow Dane, my countryman. It is what it is. I don't know. You see pictures of McGregor on social media this week?
Yeah, dude, he's on that horse meat that Canelo tested positive with, dude.
Gotta be, gotta be
He
on that horse
is
meat. When he
looking
keeps he keeps talking
huge.
about his MMA comeback, I didn't know he meant at heavyweight.
Dude, how much do you think he weighs realistically? Like 210, 220?
I'd go as high as 220, 225.
Yeah, right. He's like
He
five
is
eight. He's like
gigantic.
5'8". He looks absolutely yoked right now.
He's gigantic.
Yeah, he's gonna need to spend at least 6 months in that USADA testing pool to get that sorted out or have that fly under the radar because
Yeah.
my boy
And
is on the juice.
USADA's on one. Did you see Paulo, our boy Paulo Costa, getting tested again? Early morning testing happening for Paulo.
Yeah,
They're after the juice,
I
and
could
and
see,
McGregor's on that stuff.
I could see that. You see what that guy looks like? He's the type of
Yeah,
guy that it's like Jesus Christ. He looks like he's chiseled out of stone. Um, crazy, crazy
yeah.
physique, Paulo Costa.
Just he's and McGregor looks like he's on that Paulo Costa secret juice right now. He looks like he got it into the stash a little bit.
Yeah, he just
Might
looks
have
like
been down there in
he
the
looks
Cabela's.
inflated. Like how Costa's like cut. McGregor just looks like fucking just juiced up to the
Yeah, it looks
gills.
like you can pop him with a pin. It's insane.
Yeah, but all roads lead back to McGregor. I gotta add that in because
I
we
know.
love to talk about him.
We have to. We have to. He's managed to keep himself relevant. Look, he's done it better than anybody else because this man is the most relevant fighter who's not fighting.
Here's a little question to spice it up a little bit. If Adesanya gets this done this week at UFC 281, who's next for him at 185 pounds?
That's a great question that I was thinking about this week. I was talking to a friend of the podcast, Timmy Green, Timbo Slice, we were talking about Joe Pfeiffer
Mm-hmm. Stop it
because
right now.
no, not that. No, but it's like that's where I feel like a lot of the 185 talent is right now. Is like you got some young bucks at 185 coming up the ranks. You
Mm,
got some guys who are gonna be a problem, but I don't who's next for him in 185.
yeah, no, I'm not. I literally am trying to think of it, and there's really nobody. What we get Sean Strickland.
I get after getting absolutely flatlined by Pereira. I mean, who
I
who wants
just
that?
yeah, there's just like really nobody else that just kind of Whitaker again is like I know that that's crazy, but like that might be the only like reasonable guy
Yeah, it
at this
might be.
point at this point in time. Like
They'll
he's
do the
pretty much
Sean
the guy.
Strickland fight. I'm going to tell you that right now. That'll be the fight that they do because they know they'll sell numbers. Because Sean Strickland will get up there and just absolutely verbally abuse Adesanya, just say the most horrific things he can think of to sell the fight, and people will tune in for it. Um, people will pay money to watch Sean Strickland lose a fight. I'm one of them, so I'm not talking shit about that as a business model.
He's fighting Canyon here next, isn't he?
Is he fighting Jared Cannonier next?
Yeah, I think that fight is booked. That's no walk in the park.
No, that's a tough night at the
That's a
office.
fucking nightmare fight.
That's a tough night at the office. No, but I was asking Timmy G, do you think Joe Pyfer's going to be a problem at 185? He said he's going to be nothing short of a problem. And I have no reason to disagree with him. This guy, he sparred Joe Pyfer before. He said he almost got stopped during sparring from leg kicks with Joe Pyfer because the dude just hits that hard. But like Joe just got to the UFC, right? And you look at the 185 rankings, like I feel like there's a lot of guys at 185 who are just getting their feet under them, starting to put it together. I think 185 in 3 years is going to be an exciting division. But if Izzy gets it done Saturday, you're right. Like, what do we do until these guys are ready for the fucking main stage?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not no shade to Joe Pyfer. I mean, he's coming off of a knockout win over Alan Amadovsky, who I don't think he has a win in the UFC, right? So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at with Adesanya right now, right?
Right.
It's just he's absolutely cleaned out the division, so it's hard to find a guy. Like, I don't want to see Brunson. I don't want to see him fight Brunson again. Jack Hermanson. Like, I don't really need to see these fights for Adesanya. So that's interesting. That's very, very interesting who's going to come into the fold at 185 pounds.
I'll tell you right now, I like Jack Hermanson. I'm a fan of Jack Hermanson.
Yeah.
Jack Hermanson versus Israel Adesanya will be like the worst fight in UFC history to watch.
Yeah, you literally read my mind. I could not think of a fight that I would rather pass on than that one.
Yeah, that's just going to be two guys point fighting for 5 rounds.
Terrible.
The
Terrible.
most exciting part of that is going to be Israel Adesanya's walkout. I don't need to say it, but you're right. There's talent that's young, but they're not ready for a title fight yet. That's years off.
Yeah,
so
I mean, you got to get past. As far as I'm concerned, you have to get past Whitaker, right?
Agree. Got to beat Bobby Knuckles.
Whitaker's kind of like that guy where it's like, okay, you think you can fight for the belt, you got to go through May, and not to mention, absolutely nobody has been able to beat him either. It's literally it's the 185-pound division, Whitaker, and then Adesanya. So it's like it's crazy how dominant those two guys are. At 185 pounds, they had a close fight. Their last fight,
they had a close fight. Yeah, I mean, Whitaker is the worst case scenario, I think, for the UFC because he's the perfect gatekeeper, right?
Yeah,
hasn't beaten Adesanya, but he's beaten everybody else, and he's beaten them well.
Yep.
So, like, what the fuck do you do, right? Because nobody's going to get past Whitaker to get to Adesanya. So
exactly,
it's all fucked up. You see, Mark Hunt got a knockout and beat a undefeated boxer.
Yeah, I thought I was watching like one of those old Twitter pages that posts like old content of kickboxing fights, like cool, like pride and glory highlights. But no, sure as shit, it was 47-year-old Mark Hunt knocking out an undefeated fighter. That's basically how I know this person. I've never heard of him up until this point. But goddamn, Mark Hunt. Yeah. Mark Hunt still got it.
Flatlined him.
Yep.
Flatlined him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, put the guy on skates.
I heard somebody say that it was like a retirement fight for Mark Hunt, but I'm like, you're 47 years old. I mean, at this point, just keep doing it, I guess.
Yeah.
Why right. At 47 years old, if you're flatlining pro boxers, I guess keep doing it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like this is where we're gonna draw the line. Like, come on. We've already committed. Just fucking let's
just keep going, I guess.
Till the wheels fall off.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring this up on the pod.
Here we go.
Did you see Polyana Viana cutting a post-fight interview?
I didn't. I did see that she knocked out Jin Frey. It was a pretty nice sequence. Seconds? Yeah, it was a really nice sequence.
Then she decided to take to this Twitter sphere and let everybody know that Colby Covington. I'm just going to read it. I'm going to read it verbatim because I don't want to try to parse this out here. This is Polyana Viana on her Twitter. Colby wanted me to finger him in the ass, but I did not want to. He got upset.
I mean, that's a little, I think she's fucking around a little bit, but I've seen the picture. I know the photo that you're referring to that she posted. They look a little they look a little friendly. They look a little friendly, but
Very strange.
wouldn't put it past Kobe.
I mean, listen, again, listen, we're not going to judge feet pics. We're not going to judge what anybody does behind closed doors, two consenting parties. You do what you want to do. Uh,
Absolutely.
I think that's gonna hurt the Covington brand a little bit, though. I don't know that Captain America Colby Covington wants Pollyanna Vienna out there dropping the digital secrets like that. But um, again, to Miss Vienna, don't kink shame. There's no reason for that. You don't got to get clout by kink shaming. That's not what we do here.
Wow. That was very noble of you to bring that up.
That's what I'm gonna say. And it was
Going to bat for Kobe Covington. I don't think I would have ever thought that was going to happen.
well, look, do I like Colby Covington? No. Do I care that, he likes to take the road less traveled behind closed doors? Be great, man. Be
Yeah,
great.
of course.
But that's how it's a light MMA news week if we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of Colby Covington's finger habits. That's how it's a slow week here.
Yeah, no, I think we tackled this one pretty well. I mean, I thought we objectively picked sides, and it's a great card, man. I love every fight on here. I'm hyped, man. I'm hyped for Saturday. The only thing I wish it was an early card so I could wake up and turn it on. Now I have to wait a couple hours before I can watch. But
I'm grateful that this isn't. I'm going to be otherwise occupied in the morning on Saturday, but I think I can get there for the later card. So,
okay.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, other than that, I'm not going to complain too much. So,
It's a magnificent card. I hope that the MMA news stays quiet this week, so
mhm.
that all we have to worry about is enjoying 281. I hope that fuckery does not abound this week. I hope that all weights are made, all scales are calibrated, everybody behaves themselves this week. Take a little melatonin, get good sleep, eat well, hydrate. I scare because I care, and let's get to the business of fighting, which is what we're all here for.
Say less.
You got anything else for us, John Boy?
I think that about wraps it up.
Well, then I guess there's only one thing left to do. Call your mother, tell you love her, because we out.
Peace.